Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nesta in 2025. I'm Nanath Berry, and I spearhead business development in the Asia Pacific region here at Flightbase. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today. How are you all doing? Please make sure you drop a quick note in the chat and let me know where you're joining from, and also let me know what you're most excited about today. Also, don't forget to share your thoughts on our Neston Wall of Love using the hashtag NestGen. A little bit about today's session. We're going to be diving into MSS Security's integrated approach to transforming security and emergency response. We're here to explore how MSS is redefining the security landscape across Australia through comprehensive solutions that span traditional security services, aviation, and advanced emergency response training. From cutting edge technology in security to innovative aviation operations and specialized safety training, this session covers it all. A little bit about the speaker here today. I'm pleased to introduce Gregory Naylan, the head of aviation and emerging technologies at MSS Security, and also the chief remote pilot. MSS being the biggest security company in Australia and one of Asia Pacific's largest security companies, Greg brings about 18 years of experience in operations management, aviation operations, training, development, and investigations. Greg is also spearheading the dock deployments of MSS Security for high-profile end users such as Port Lincoln using Flightbase. Greg's innovative approach to integrating advanced aviation technology with robust security measures is driving transformation within the industry and beyond. This makes him the perfect person to guide you through MSS Security's journey of innovation and excellence. Before we jump into the heart of today's conversation, there's just a few housekeeping items. Please type any questions you have into the Q&A or the chat box. We'll circle back during our Q&A segment. Remember that the session is being recorded and it will be available after the event. Of course, last but not the least, please snap some pictures and share your favorite moments on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram using the hashtag NestGen. You might just get a cool surprise. All right, now that we've set the stage, I'm excited to hand the mic over to our esteemed speaker of the day, Greg. All over to you, Greg.
Thanks for that, Barry. Hopefully everybody can hear me right, and I've got the settings right on this thing. I want to thank you for inviting me to be on here, and I guess for really saving our behinds when it came to the way that we actually met with Flightbase. So I'll give you a quick brief on that before I sort of go into the rest of it. Is we had a trial at a big infrastructure facility that MSS Security was going to be doing for about 5 weeks, and about a week out, the provider that we were supposed to be using for our dock control solution came back to us and said, "Oh, we know you've been using us for a lot of your EV-loss sort of operations and VLOS operations. However, we don't actually have any dock software that actually works." This was after telling us for the past 12 months that they had dock software, and we've been planning to sort of roll it out. However, not actually rolling out docks too frequently before that. We didn't really have a need to be able to implement. So about a week before we were supposed to go live, they finally came back to me after chasing them up about getting the software connected to our docks, and they said we don't have it. So naturally, sort of, I guess, fear and panic set in. I called up somebody, Jackie Durovic, which is from Hobby UAV, somebody who is absolutely amazing in the industry. And I said, "Look, I need any software you can actually do. I don't want to use the traditional DJI software. I want something else that has that sort of next level and something else." Connected me straight through to Flightbase. Within 24 hours, we had links sent in to be able to connect our docks in. Within the next couple of days, we had all of our pilots in sessions, training, learning how to do it. And then a couple of days before we even deployed for our initial bump in on site. everything was done, everything was connected. It was as if I felt as if I had the entire business just backing me, supporting us to be able to make it work. And it wasn't their fault that we came to them last minute, but they really did come through in the end. So I am very grateful for everything that happened. Not to mention the product's actually pretty good itself, but the way in which they were able to really salvage our operation is something that I will always really appreciate. So I'll go through a little bit, talk about. So I am head of aviation and emerging technologies. We do have around 8,000 staff that work for us in MSS security. All of our contracts, most of the blue chip government contracts, most of the defence contract we have within Australia. Have about 22 airports that we work in, providing screening and security, and that is in my purview. I also work within AI development technologies, all the other emerging technologies, and I am the CRP and director of the drone business as well. What we found was a couple of years ago, when we were starting to go for some of our really large tenders, that a lot of organisations within security are now wanting to have a drone option to be able to actually attach to as a service provider, and they don't want to be able to have a subcontractor that comes in and provides the drone service. They actually want to have a business that offers drones as a service, full spectrum, which can then complement all of the guards on the ground, the control room staff we have monitoring all the cameras, and it really rounds out the entire security solution. So that's really how I sort of came in about 2.5 years ago, knowing quite a lot about aviation and enjoying playing with drones when I played with them in I guess a more personal manner, but not really anything to do with the professional side of it. So partnering with people like Hover UAV, Avi Assist, AvCRM, really getting in to learn everything that we needed to learn, really get into the compliance part of it, the approvals part of it, and what we were actually allowed to do. It was a real crash course in what we had to do, but I guess partnering with the best people out there, I was fortunate to be able to get to where we are in such a great position. So I am again very thankful to those people. I didn't know where I was actually going to be in this presentation. I didn't know if I was actually going to be one of the first people coming on today. So I thought maybe I'll put a bit of a 2-minute footage of a couple of our drone operations put in together. My daughter put this footage together. She is quite talented. However, don't judge me for if it's not really the perfect footage there, but I'll put it on anyway. So this is over in WA, over at PTA. A lot of the trains, as we would know, trains across the world get graffitied quite a lot, and they spend quite a bit of money in repairing the vandalism. Over here was one of our trials that we'd done at a water infrastructure facility, and just really being able to show within different types of environments how it worked. Over here, this is Port Lincoln Airport. This was I'll talk about this a little bit later, but this is actual part of the footage from the first flight, that first BB loss flight that happened in an airport in Australia. So we were quite happy with that, and this has all been happening with flight-based software.
Greg, just sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing your screen?
Yep, should be. It's not sharing.
Yeah, it's
okay. Let me
just yeah.
Let me reset it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, are we sharing now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, how about I play that one again? Okay. So again, PTA in WA. This is at the moment. This is where they just park some of the trains at night. This is again, everything we do is focused on security. I know there is a lot of companies on here that will be doing drones for a lot of other reasons, but we are set for security. This was at a water infrastructure facility that we were doing a trial at, the one where flight-based really came through for us. This is our BV loss approval at Port Lincoln Airport in South Australia, and this is actually some footage from the first ever BV loss flight at an airport in Australia. So we were quite proud to be able to get that through CASA. I do have some more footage of it later on that we can actually put on too. So, already sort of covered off a bit on what MSS is. Again, massive security company. We are the biggest now within Australia, providing for all blue chip government sort of yep, and airports. Not only are we security and aviation, we are also strategic medical. So we have the biggest private medical service and team as a business in Australia. So when you have paramedics at mine sites, out on the oil rigs, you can have them in airports, really anywhere. We can deploy them to be able to provide services for that, and strategic rescue as well. So going into confined spaces, which is something we're also now deploying drones into, where we can, some of the drones that we can deploy that don't rely on the GNSS, but more of a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signal to be able to go into those deep and dark crevices, is really actually improving the safety for a lot of our staff in there too. We are owned by a parent company in India called SIS, and it's one of Asia Pacific's largest security companies, facility management companies, cleaning companies, merging into tech companies. It really is quite a beast over there. So we were able to actually leverage all of their business to be able to actually support ours as well. And where I'm working within the tech space when it comes to AI and VR and a lot of other things that we're doing, it's really quite great to be able to pull down from our parent company. Look, our mission statement with what we do, you don't really need to sort of go through and read it. We're a security company. We want to be able to provide the best security service that we can. People can only do so much on the ground. CCTV cameras can do things too, but having portable CCTV cameras that can actually respond to incidents as we go, we can communicate directly through the drone to people on the ground, whether they're injured, whether they're in the wrong space, whatever it could be, if there's, fires damaging, anything like that. It really is filling a gap that has been in the industry for really quite some time. And we're really quite excited about where we're going at the moment and how we're expanding at such a great rate. Port Lincoln Airport operations. So we've had our REOC for about 2 years now. 18 months ago, or just over 18 months ago, we put in approval to have a BB-LOS drone operating at Port Lincoln Airport. Now, we did that because I manage airport operations, and then I was getting into the drones, and I thought this would be a really great thing to have. Not really knowing the headaches that were going to be in front of me for what I had to actually deal with CASA to be able to get a drone at an airport. It ended up taking about 18 months. There was no other, business that had actually done this before, or CASA hadn't actually approved it to be done before, is what I should say. Doesn't mean a business didn't do it. So there was no precedent for them to actually follow on and see what it was. So every step that we took with them, there was, what about this? What about this? What could happen? What problems are going to be? How are you going to mitigate this risk? What about, coming close into aircraft? And every single thing that we did, we had to have additional solutions for, tailoring our flight paths, times of flight, everything that we were doing. However, we were able to get it across the line, and which is why it's a Doc 1, because the time that we actually put the submission in, we put in with a Doc 1, and then to change to a Doc 2 was going to take further time to actually get it adjusted. So we were able to actually get that coming through, and I think it was November, December last year. So this is us just setting it up. This is actually where it is. What we do with it is we have full approval to be able to fly in and around Port Lincoln Airport. Anywhere across the airport, the runway, anything whatsoever. However, our flight pass that we do is focusing on the perimeter fence line, looking for breaches, looking for wildlife activity, vehicles that are too close to the fence, a whole bunch of aviation regulations, which not drone regulations, but about aviation security and rules that need to be abided by. So tracking that, we're able to push out through the RTSP feeds from flight base the footage to be able to run it through our own AI. And I do know that you have your own AI, Barry, which you ran me through, and that's quite exciting. And looking forward to being able to test out some of that as well. However, before we're across that, we do own our own AI company, so we're pushing it through there looking for people that aren't wearing high vis, and a myriad of other things that we're actually doing amongst the airfield. As we come around the airfield, we're also looking at on the border roads, the car park, and then covering up some of the facilities as well, so we can look at some facility management parts as we're sort of going with it. So at the moment, we run nighttime operations. It's the highest risk for security anywhere really when it comes to nighttime operations. When the airport isn't, the airport terminal isn't active, there are still some flights that will be coming in, arriving flights, no real departing commercial flights. RPT flights will be going out, but GA is coming in, and the Royal Doctors are still coming in quite a bit. So yeah, look, we've had quite a bit of success with this. As a result of this and some of our other trials, we've got another, I think, 7 approvals in at the moment for BB-less operations across Australia. We've got another one starting next month at BHP, a mine site. Mines are renowned for having quite a lot of drone activity already, however, not specifically for security. So given that we are the biggest security company, we have offered this now to all of our clients, and they are picking it up quite rapidly. The first one being BHP in Newman, Whaleback. So we'll be patrolling along the rail lines and all the perimeter areas of the zone during the night, where the entry points are generally coming in for some locals that will come in and try to commit some offences on site when there's nobody around, stealing cars and everything like that. We're able to find the people with our drones, communicate to the guards that are on site directly, as well as sharing them live footage the entire time. They can be watching everything that we're doing, and then immediately get them to actually respond. The cars are now mounted with tablets, so they can actually watch live the footage, which will be coming through from flight base, so they can actually see exactly what the drone can see for their own safety, to make sure that as they're approaching the situation, they're not going to be getting into anything above their head, and know in advance if they need to call the police or if they need to call for additional backup as it is. So this is, I guess this is the map. This is the area of our approval for Port Lincoln, if anyone has any interest in it. We do have our initial flight pass that we are going through, our buffer zones and everything like that. We are planning to be focusing on perimeter operations. However, in the final approvals that we went through, it just ended up getting opened up to the entire airport because they were quite satisfied with everything that we were doing. Is there any questions anyone has at the moment? I know I just keep talking. No.
Right. So Greg,
Okay,
we also have polls that are live, so yeah. Any questions for Greg out there?
Polls that are live.
Right. Great. So Greg, we also
what
have
I'll do is I've actually got the footage from.
Right. I was saying that we have a dedicated Q&A session.
Couldn't hear that.
Yeah. So we can carry on, and we can maybe circle back to this during the Q&A session.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've actually done, this is basically what we actually do as a security company. It won't suit every drone as a service provider. However, we have our drones, captures the footage, sends it back, runs it through the AI, looking for security threats. It sends it to our proprietary reporting software, which then will automatically send a ticket to one of our guards that needs to respond, and then they can sort of go through the whole prompts there. So, look, it's working really well at the moment. Very happy with the software that we're using, and everything seems to be going really well. But I'm really keen to get feedback or any other suggestions or questions about better ways to be able to operate drones for the security purpose. However, we'll probably have to wait for a Q&A for that. What I've actually done here is I've got the first flight that we actually did at Port Lincoln Airport when we got this was our first approval flight. That was a little sub area that we decided to fly in. don't worry, you actually do get to see some better footage in this, but this actually shows you where we were operating from and how the map actually went. We were running, hopefully it streams well. Yep. We were running in the front and then coming around to be able to go the perimeter of the front, coming down along the runway and then coming back along through the aircraft parking lot. What we did find was some wildlife that were coming through, some dogs, don't have any idea how they actually got on, some foxes that came through as well. It's not liking it. It's probably too big for the stream. And we did find several people that were coming in towards the terminal, which it alerted us to immediately, which was actually quite good. So we run this now most nights around the perimeter of the entire airport. However, I'm not actually able to share the entire footage due to privacy. However, I did have permission from the airport to be able to show you the initial approval flight. Look, it might not be the most exciting thing in the world, but it's the same as monitoring CCTV, doing a security patrol, whatever it could be. This is just a much more safer, time-effective, use of a resource that we can do to be able to find people that are that have ill intent to interfere with aviation. In this case, break into facilities, cause harm to people, everything like that. So this is actually getting quite a bit of interest at the moment at universities for nighttime, patrolling around where the dormitories are and things like that. In some low light areas, we can go across with the LP12 with the nice spotlight on, or I think it's the LP21 that's going to be coming out for the M3D2. Where you can just light up the area and then speak to anybody, which is really quite effective as a deterrent when it comes to security. And we've just found that it's whatever we think of there's an issue throughout the business, we can generally think of some way that a drone could be used as a solution. So I'll see if I can speed it up. That's across the runway. Then we're coming back out. I always say it kind of looked like a video game when you were flying over it, the shape of the buildings and the aircraft when they're parked. It just sort of looked a bit surreal when we first went over it. This was about 3 o'clock in the morning after we finally got everything with FlySafe approved through DJI to be able to fly in an airport. It was one of those things that, given it was the first airport to do the dock, we really had no idea about some of the additional measures that needed to be taken. Then coming back down, nothing too exciting. We didn't find any criminals at that time, but it was great to be able to actually do it. So I was just glad that I could share that with you all. Okay. So look, I guess in summary, CASA 18 months to be able to get an airport approval to run a drone. Hopefully now that we've got one, it might be a bit quicker to be able to get additional ones put on. Look, initially it was no, you're not going to be able to get a drone. There's no way we're going to allow a drone to be at the airport. And then working with AviAssist and Ross Anderson, who is really quite a great expert in the field, he was able to go back and say, well, why? You tell me why not, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what we can do to appease any concerns you have, any risks that you have. And that was the journey that we took. And it was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until, I don't know if he wore them down or if they actually started to believe us that we were going to be able to do it right. And since then, it's been quite a success. So, yeah, that's really all I've got. at the moment. Hopefully, you got something out of that, and yeah, I'll I'll wait for the Q&A session, I guess, Barry. Considering I don't think anybody's really talking here. Oh wait, yep, there's something in the chat group.
Great.
Yes, I did, Matthew. I did actually see in the introduction some of the amazing stuff that's happening over in Europe. I might have to find a way to get my way over there to have a closer look at how we can better our operations over here by mirroring some of the things over there. They appear to be a little bit more advanced than what we're doing over here. So yeah.
Great.
That's about it, Barry.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Greg, for all of these valuable insights, and a huge thank you to all of you for joining us today as well, for some of the engaging questions, interactions. Before we wrap up, we of course want to have these questions that were asked. Let's just address them. So, of course, Matthew mentioned that it's a very interesting journey, similar to the one. We've got an anonymous question that says, what are the key regulatory hurdles faced by companies when integrating advanced security and emergency response technologies, and how can they be overcome? It's in the Q&A session there, Greg.
Q&A.
We also have,
Okay.
Please, anyone who has questions, any comments, any queries, please drop them in the Q&A section. We also have a request from David Estrada. So maybe David, if you could just put it in the Q&A session, that would be great.
Look, so what are some of the key regulatory hurdles faced? It certainly is restrictions by what CASA is imposing with us. Flying over people, distance of people, what is actually considered to be a more densely populated area versus a less densely populated area, and I guess really how you can reduce that SOAR rate to the lower one. But I'd say the biggest hurdle that we have actually come with is the time it takes to actually get the approvals. And I understand that the regulatory body that we have over here is overwhelmed with everything, and everybody's trying to get approvals through, and they don't just want to rush them. And I wouldn't want them to rush them and then have a bunch of safety risks all around Australia. However, the amount of time, it's by the time there is we have an idea for a solution, we're waiting 6 to 12 months for CASA to actually approve to be able to implement it. Or if we are to put in a immediate solution, it is cost prohibitive. So BVLOS is a very cost-effective model for security for so many operations. However, when it comes to the expediency of getting it makes it a bit of unattractive for some people. And then if you run an EVLOS operation or a VLOS operation, you're paying staff 24/7 to run it, and it just becomes an issue.
Right. Greg, I think the next question is by Sean Barrett. Do you have OONP approval as part of this BVLOS SORA?
I'm going to need to know what that actual acronym is. Sorry. Sean, can you...
Yeah. Sean here is from the Western Australia Police. So, right, Sean, could you just elaborate on that? Yep. While we're at that, we also have David. David, I can approve your request right now. Sean says ops over or near people.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I am familiar with some of the more brief acronyms that they have. So yes, given the location that we are, we can fly over or near people. However, during certain times of the day, we aren't able to fly over the terminal due to it being considered a densely populated area. If that answers the question, but as far as everywhere else in the airport, it's considered a not densely populated area, so we can go over them and or around and near them. If that answers it.
Great. We also
How are
have
you? How
Dave.
are you?
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm just trying to read it at the moment. How are you
How
seeing the autonomous
so
sensors being
trigger.
triggered? And are the triggers autonomous or human watching a scene to see a trigger? So you're talking about when we actually identify a threat. Is it that the AI is actually identifying it, or is it that our pilots are actually identifying it? If that's if that's the question, well then it's actually both. So if that isn't the question, please correct me and elaborate on it. However, our pilots are watching it the entire time, and they are security trained, so they are looking for security type threats. At the same time, they are the ones that are receiving the AI analysis that's coming through for any additional threats that have been identified, and then they will be able to go back and review to be able to verify exactly what that is, and if need, they will take it off the autonomous flight path and then turn around and then they can actually follow up on anything that they've found. Um, hopefully that was the right answer.
Great.
Is there any other ones?
Right. I think we had Lachi Stewart. Lachi, if you could just put your question in the chat box, or if you could just put it in the Q&A section, that would be great. Right. Perfect. We shall get back to you with that then, Lachi, in case. Right. Any other questions on the floor? Any other points or questions on the floor? Right. We've had about 2-3 questions. And I think, yep, we can surely close it on that. So thank you so much, everyone, for asking your questions. And thank you so much, Greg, for, answering these questions and for putting up the lovely presentation. I think that was pretty good there, right?
All good. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for your time.
Right. Thank you so much for your time, Greg. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending this session. Thanks for joining and thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to, just post your thoughts with the hashtag NestGen. I'm Nanath Berry, and I've been your host for today. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you have a great day ahead. Right. Cheers, Greg.